Hello, friends. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. It is about 8:45 on Monday, June 9th. This is Kirk Henderson, joined, as always, by Josh Bowe. We're kind of in the middle of, I don't know, there's no off-season doldrum with the Mavericks, but we're just kind of in a consistently weird place. Josh, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I was going to say it's kind of the opposite. There's actually a lot to talk about, which is abnormal. There shouldn't be anything to talk about, but
Right.
it's the Mavericks, so they've decided to create a story that they could end that they're deciding to let go on for the benefit of us.
You know, Shams Charania tweeted a couple days ago that Cooper Flag is coming to Dallas for an official visit. And like, this is just one of these weird things, which we as Mavericks fans have quite literally never experienced before, because all of this is the way it's framed is that, well, potential number one draft pick. They're drafting him, but you can't just, due to the way this stuff is structured and the CBA and this, that, and that, they're not allowed to actually talk to him like he is a Maverick, but they can. And so there's all these like weird sort of beating around the bush elements of it. He's going to come to Dallas, probably, check out the facility, interview with the Mavericks, with whatever in the world that means. And then, a couple weeks from now, they'll be taking him with the number one overall pick. But of course, in the meantime, we've had what really feels. You posted the meme, or it's the clip from Arrested Development of like almost 10 days. I mean, maybe it's about a week ago. Describe the. I don't want to fuck it up.
Oh yeah, if you're familiar with the rest of Development, there's an episode where Tobias he's a failed he's a failed therapist trying to become an actor, and someone tells him to get his name out there on the studio lot. So he goes to a studio and starts talking himself up around the water cooler. And funny enough,
literally,
yes, like this Fuemke he says this Fuemke is all everyone's talking about. I don't know how brilliant this Tobias Fuemke is. And then the joke is he keeps saying his last name Fuemke, and then when the casting director asks him for his name, he says Tobias. And they go, "Oh, we'll go give the role to the other guy." So all that work he did is for nothing because he calls himself Tobias.
So when we have ourselves a real pickle here, and I want to describe all this, and like this is what is going on right now with the Dallas Mavericks, Jason Kidd, and the New York Knicks job is specifically why I have no interest in being a reporter, because this is a annoying story to cover. That in the end, no matter what news you break, there's a part of it that feels like something's missing. People will question what you know, who you were told it by, and you're just not allowed to say anything. So on the one hand, we've had longtime Dallas Mavericks adjacent national reporter Mark Stein sharing that there would be interest from the Knicks in somehow acquiring under contract head coach Jason Kidd. Also the Rockets, also a couple of other teams that the Knicks are interested in poaching their head coach. Like, it's not just like a single thing. And I could be getting the particulars and the who and the timeline wrong, but ultimately where we end up is in this fun. So it's like this happens. Tim McMahon the next morning on a True Hoop show is like, just don't be shocked if this is still out there. Then this just kind of goes on all week.
Yeah, Zach Lowe said don't discount it on his podcast with Bill Simmons.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Bontemps, I think, said something, don't discount it. Chris Mannix from Sports Illustrated said something about how, this is real.
All the athletic guys, meaning from the Dallas side to the Knicks side to even people that don't cover the team, have heard something, and we're just here. And the reason this is annoying, and Arik in the chat notes this, is that all it takes for this to go away is for the Dallas Mavericks to make a public statement, go on the record. That's the real rub. Going on the record to say Jason Kidd we will not be letting Jason Kidd interview for the New York Knicks job. And as Mark Stein said in his update tonight, for some reason they haven't.
They don't even need to make a public statement, Kirk. One of the litany of sources that communicate with Cato or McMahon or Stein or Zach Lowe or anyone could just text and be like, hey, this isn't happening. And then you get the Shams tweet that says sources say the Mavericks are not interested in letting Jason Kidd interview the New York Knicks. And guess what? The story's over. They don't even have to make a public statement, which makes it even more baffling.
But Stein was told over the weekend that as far as he knew, if the Knicks asked, the Mavericks would say no. But I don't understand the pretense going on. Why doesn't this happen? And I want to make a quick note to a comment in the chat. He said the guys on 105.3 this morning, which is an Audacity, which is our parent company affiliated network, said that they heard if Kidd would take the job if the Mavs grant permission. Here's why that is, and I want you to think this through. Josh kind of had to explain this to me. So if you're not getting it, I'm not calling anybody an idiot because it sort of took me a second to get what he was going for. Please explain why, like, just go ahead and explain why this is, of course he would take the job. Tell me, explain it the way you explained it to our Slack.
Is it more like, are you talking about like why if they grant him the interview, why then he's gone? Why
yes.
That would mean?
Yes.
Yeah. Because you can't let him come back to the Mavericks if he wants to coach another team. Like, you just can't. You're getting Cooper Flag. You're resetting the organization. You're in a precarious position with Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving. Like, your franchise is on the precipice of either rebuilding itself in the ashes of the Doncic trade or going down in even bigger smoldering heap. If Jason Kidd is not committed to your organization, then he should not be your head coach anymore. So if you're letting him interview with another team, that means Kidd is interested in coaching another team. How could you then bring him back into that locker room and tell the players, this is your guy that's going to lead you through what is a very important season in terms of they need stability more than anything and a direction, right?
Yes.
And if Kidd doesn't want to be a part of it, and that's okay. But if you're going to allow him to interview with another team, then he can't come back to the organization, because I just don't think that is tenable with all the importance. Kyrie rehabbing his ACL, Anthony Davis trying to make it through, Cooper Flag trying to integrate himself into the NBA. You cannot go through that season with a head coach that doesn't have the heart to want to be there. Because that's the one thing we have said is probably the most admirable thing about Kidd's tenure in Dallas is they have had two awful seasons. They've had two great seasons. They're basically, Kidd is 2-2 in his 4 years. They've had the Western Conference Finals, the finals, and then they missed the playoffs twice.
Right.
And we've been talking about better coaches have had better seasons than Kidd and gotten fired. Mike Malone won a title, made the playoffs 2 straight years, gets fired. Kidd goes to the finals and then misses the playoffs, and there's not even a question about his job security. And we've said over and over again, the only reason why is because he hasn't lost the locker room. Because usually that's when coaches go, when the players are over it. Now, of course, sometimes that doesn't always happen that way. But usually when the players are over it, coaches don't survive that much longer. Like, Nikola Jokic hasn't said anything on the record, I think, about Mike Malone. But if he wanted Mike Malone to remain the coach, then Mike Malone would have stayed the coach. Like, that's how these things work. The players kind of run this part of it in a way. And Kidd has not lost, say what you will about these 2 awful seasons. The team plays hard.
Yes.
You don't get a sense that they have given up on the season. Like, that was so funny, like the 2023 season, when people were like, they need to tank, and you were like, they're just that bad. They're going to lose games. And they were still trying, and they lost games.
Same thing this past season.
Yeah, they were trying. They had 8 guys and 4 two-way players and like scrap heap guys, and they were obviously they weren't winning, but they weren't getting their doors blown off every night.
Nope.
So he never lost the locker room. So I think that's why he's never been on the hot seat. And if that's been one of his greatest attributes as a Mavericks coach is keeping the locker room together, keeping players focused, getting them to play hard. If he interviews with the Knicks, how can he possibly do that back in Dallas? Because now the players are like, why am I playing hard for this guy? He didn't even want to be here. He wants to go to New York. Why am I going to show up tonight? You know what I mean? Like, I just, if it gets to that point, I don't think he has to go. Like, that's just kind of how it is.
I think that's right. And Tim Bontemps on the Saturday True Hoop Collective, I think was when it was posted, essentially went through the Jason Kidd career. We're talking back to the playing days. This is a fair statement that what might come off as combative to people who are kind of reflexively like really into Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd is incredible at looking out for Jason Kidd.
Yeah.
And one of the things I'm finding so interesting about all this is that, you know, McMahon pointed out that Kidd was not a fan of the Casey Smith firing. And like, there's just clearly things coming from Kidd. Okay. And I think he is attempting with this sort of like foray into the news. It was just my read. I could be very wrong here.
He's done multiple podcasts in the last month.
That's right.
He hadn't done really before.
He's trying to get, you know, with Nico Harrison hiding in the Nico Harrison bunker, wherever in the world he is looking like he is attempting to differentiate himself from Nico Harrison, from the Luka trade, from the trade of for Caleb Martin. There's some. These guys were brought in, and I'd be really interested. I mean, I guess not that interested. I don't care that much, but I sort of want to go back through all of Mark Stein's initial reporting about when Kidd was coming in 2021, along with our reactions to all of that, because like we weren't very happy with the Kidd hiring.
Right, his coaching resume at that point.
His coaching resume sucked,
but,
and frankly, his coaching resume without Luka does suck. Like, just kind of the way it is. He's won 50 games twice. Each of those was when Luka Doncic helmed the roster. But anyway, it's just particularly brilliant by him to at least have this out there but I also can't help it.
Dumb.
No, he's not dumb at all, and. Yeah. You know, given some of the other things we've talked about the last several weeks about the challenges ahead, like unless they find a dynamic guard, they're going to be a muck-driven team. I'm not saying they can't win, but if they don't win, it's going to be ugly. And that comes with its own share of consequences because it's his job to coach the roster that's in front of him. And the funny part is like he would kind of hate this Knicks roster. Like if he could if he could take like AD with him and like send Cat to Dallas, maybe
Cat is his starting. Like, Cat as his starting center does not sound like something.
Like nobody seems to like coaching Cat. It's really amazing how that ends up working out. Yeah. Salam in the chat says, "Is this going to end up leading to a new contract with Kidd, like an extension upon his extension?"
Yeah, he just signed an extension.
Right, that's what Tim McMahon thought over the weekend, where he's like, you know, maybe this is something everybody gets together.
But he has no leverage, which is funny because he's already under contract. So
creating leverage out of nothing is amazing.
Like, how can you hold the Mavericks over a barrel when the Mavericks decide whether you can go or not? It's not like he's a free agent, so I don't understand.
Well, and then the New York beat writer, I can't remember his name, for The Athletic, wrote today that he's like, perhaps there's something that's happening at the ownership level because Knicks owner, what's his name? James Dolan and Miriam Adelson are at least familiar with one another due to different like Vegas adjacent things.
So you think these are owner to owner? Like that's where this comes
I think that would be flat out hilarious if there was owner to owner conversations after the owner was like MIA for the Luka Doncic trade.
Yeah, that'd be funny.
Which anyway.
But I mean Nico, Kidd has to distance himself from it because Nico literally in his opening press conference, his introductory press conference on the record was pretty much like, I had opportunities to join other teams, but I told them I would only be a front office executive if Kidd was the head coach. Like that's the like that they were literally a package deal that they admitted, like this isn't like source reporting, like they said that into microphones the first time that they were introduced to the Mavericks. So yeah, I mean, kid's not dumb. He totally like he is intrinsically linked to this Luka trade, whether he was a proponent of it or not. He could have been the hardest against it if he was. That's why, you know, he's still linked to it. He has to do. He's making a name to be like, hey, I wasn't part of this, even though I leaked shit to the media that said I was pissed off about Luka's weight, but I know I didn't want him. That didn't mean I wanted him traded.
So great.
Yeah, he is Philip Seymour Hoffman in Moneyball. He is. I am just doing what I can to explain myself.
I mean, I think he's Walter White in Breaking Bad. Like, can't keep getting away with this. Yeah. I love it. I'm just to the point in this part of it where I just think it's weird and it's fun, and it gives us something to talk about.
Yeah, the fact that it hasn't died means that there's some smoke to it.
That's just
like
incredible.
We've said,
somebody's going to come out of this looking kind of weird, but nobody's going to come out of this looking dumb, because this is a strange happening.
Has someone called Rick Welts to get to the bottom of this? I mean, I feel like he's the man with the answers, right?
Oh God. Well, there was one other piece of news, and then we'll break, and then we'll talk about our guys for a few minutes. Oh,
I got there one more point of this though.
Sure.
Sorry, I think we got some meat on this bone. The last thing I wanted to mention, and I want your opinion, because I don't think we talked about this briefly in Slack, but I just want it into the microphone for you.
Ooh.
Okay, let's say kid goes to coach the Knicks. What happens next in terms of Nico and the direction of the franchise? So do you think that starts the hard reset, or do you think they're going to try to get through this with Nico and a new coach?
There's two paths. I had someone that who I value their opinion say to me, he thinks that Harrison wants Kid to leave, and that then Harrison can pick Kid's replacement and give himself some a lifeline, a couple of years to say, hey, look, I've now done this all my way. These are all my people. I need time.
But Kid is this person. I don't understand that.
That's why I thought. But I thought the concept interesting, because it's the one thing a friend of me of the program, Matt Moore, says, and this is where the Knicks have fucked up, where it's like, if you're going to fire a good coach, you better know who you're bringing in. Like when the Mavericks fired Avery Johnson way back, Rick Carlisle was the guy. There was no other option. So the Knicks have made a mistake here, and if the Dallas Mavericks let Kid walk, they better know who they're going to replace him with. And as the guys in our Slack have talked about, whoever coaches a 38 to 45 win team for them is kind of depending on what you want to call it. I know all these different people are yelling at me like, the Mavericks are so good. You're wrong, Kirk. You're a hater. And I'm like, sorry, they don't have a point guard right now. Until that happens, I'm not really going to entertain a lot of, the Mavericks are awesome talk. That's neither here nor there for this conversation. Now, the hard reset, I don't know, because they're so committed to this bit at this point where it's like, I wrote the Mavericks need to fire Nico Harrison piece. Our guy Brent wrote another Mavericks need to fire Nico Harrison piece. And the fault lines amongst the fan base are pretty clear right now, where there's people who are just like, I am never letting go of this, just like you, Kirk. And then there are people who are like, okay, it's just this time. I can't do this anymore. And that's what the Mavericks are betting on, is that more people will end up in that second camp. And, Mike Reiner, is that how you say his name?
You got it. Yep.
He Hall of Famer. Somehow was like responding to all these tweets that I was in this morning. And he just basically said, he's like, the Mavericks are making the bet that the fan base is too dumb to care, or too dumb is maybe not the right word, but just wants to move on. And he just thinks it's a good bet.
People don't be fans of pro sports teams to feel bad. Like if you're still going to watch the team, anyone still watching is going to want the team to do well. I mean, obviously there's going to be a minority that wants, but like, it's like what we were talking about when people were like, wow, the there's some fire Nico chants, but it seems to be isolated to like one or two people outside of the Lakers game. And I was like, because people aren't going to spend the money to boo. Like, they're going to spend money to watch the Mavs. And you saw the first half against Houston with AD, like they were cheering the team like crazy. Like, I mean, if they win and that's why I think that LA game, the Luka return to Dallas was so bad, was because the season was over. They weren't winning. Like, the trade was already a disaster. Like, you know, the results were already a disaster. The team was going to probably miss the playoffs. And you know, AD was hurt and he'd come back, but he wasn't looking, you know, like it had already gone to hell. If Luka, you know, I don't know what the arena, now I'm just playing hypotheticals. But I'm saying, like, that contributes to it. Like, I think if the team would have stayed in that 4, 5, 6 seed range and Anthony Davis was healthy the whole time and Kyrie doesn't get hurt and they're a legitimate playoff team, like I just think that changes the mood and the vibes around the organization. But of course, everything that went wrong could go wrong. And that just created a toxic environment, which deservedly so. Like, I don't blame anyone for being pissed off because your franchise got nuked in one night for the most part. So I think that's part of it. But I'm just very curious. I'm very curious if Dumont and the ownership group, like above Nico, because we know Nico wants to do, like, Nico wants to fill out his contract and he this is his last chance to prove himself as an NBA executive. Like, this is his legacy's on the line here. If they don't, you know, this is it for him.
Yep.
So I wonder if there's any part of ownership that sees this situation, and maybe that's the reason it hasn't been squashed, is because I wonder if there's conversations above Nico that's like, hey, you know, we haven't wanted to hit the reset button because we don't want to look like fools and admit that we're wrong. But is this kid thing an opportunity to give us an out? Like, is kid throwing us a lifeline to be able to hit the reset button that doesn't make us look like fools? Like, because we can come out and be like, hey, Jason Kidd has served this franchise well. He wants to move on. We're going to honor his request because he's been a loyal member of our organization, and yada, 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 yada. Like, does that, I just wonder if they're talking internally. Like,
I doubt it.
Why it hasn't been okay.
No, these people are like,
Yeah, no.
I until Patrick Dumont shows some sense of the understanding of how a sports team functions within the flow of a city, to a certain, like, what that means to the fans. I just can't help but think that this is essentially Neil Olshey running the Blazers several years ago. Like, lots of people seem to really want to argue with me all the time about how Patrick Dumont must have been involved. And I'm just like, guys, go read that Vanity Fair story from 3 weeks ago. The Adelson family has bigger fish to fry. The Mavericks are a sticker in their wallet. They do not care. They don't care. I would love to be wrong. That would be a great thing to be wrong about, but it's not there for me right now. And I'm not super interested in dipping into it because it involves sort of guesswork about something that I just have a hard time buying. So
if anything, the Adelson part of it, in terms of, like, are they mad about Dumont? It seems like they're less mad about the PR aspect of it, like the fact that their names are in the press because of this trade.
I mean, this is negative. Why Dumont is in charge, not Adelson. They don't want the Adelson name run through the mud. It's Patrick Dumont's name who is in the mud.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, there's a proxy. Oh, well, this is going to get weirder. But it's not like last week where I'm like, why are you doing business with the Lakers? Though, just while we're on that subject, there was, who was it? It's handsome Johan Buha. He's one of the Lakers guys, put out some report that, like, the Lakers would have to overpay for Daniel Gafford, and the overpay was their whatever Vincent, guy that gave Vincent their
Dalton Connect in a first.
And it's just like, shut up, Lakers, shut up, shut up.
The guy who couldn't get off the bench in your playoff run, and then a guard that's injured all the time and averages 6 points a game. Obviously, the first for Gafford would be nice,
sure,
value, but the other two parts of it are like, come on, guys. Like,
anyway. Well, all right, let's break real quick. Then we'll come back, talk about the last piece of news, and then fly through our last few player reviews. Okay. All right. Please listen to the or to the ads. They actually are what help make us money. So Josh and I'll be back in just a minute or two. Thanks. Welcome back to Pod Maverick. Thank you so much for listening. If you've not subscribed to the show, please consider doing so on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I will be hosting another happy hour on Friday. Last week's was somehow an hour and 40 minutes, which didn't get me in trouble at work or killed by my wife. A really impossible feat for a Friday afternoon. It's really enjoyable too, talking to all you guys. So please Set your calendars, probably 3:00 Friday afternoon Central Time. We've had callers from all over the world. Love those sorts of things. And there's one last piece of Mavericks Jason news that we wanted to cover. Former Dallas Mavericks head coach Don Nelson. What award did he get? What's it called? Why am I losing my mind here?
I've got the Chuck Daly
Lifetime
Achievement Award.
And so Don Nelson essentially lives in Hawaii and smokes a lot of pot and hasn't gotten on a plane in 7 years. He said he hasn't worn shoes in 6 years. Got on a plane. They flew him to Oklahoma City, which was under like, it's just so funny going from Hawaii to Oklahoma City, like legitimate LOL. Where he gets this award. He apparently had a little bit of a sit down beforehand with Mark Stein, because Stein had the early kind of news on this. And not only did he tell Stein this, he also got on like live television and excoriated.
They did a presser they did a legit presser that they broadcasted.
He got on television and told some stories about Dirk and Nash, and then promptly just stabbed Dallas in the face one more time, meaning at least the Mavs organization, by excoriating them for trading Luka Doncic and then mentioning Luka is his friend and highlighting the fact that he was wearing Luka's shoes.
With Rick Carlisle sitting next to him, by the way.
And Rick Carlisle
with a shit-eating grin.
Oh my God. It was our guy Kevin at DLLS who pointed out the Carlisle laugh. Like, I missed it. And it's just this mirthful, smirking laugh. And look, I know you guys are tired. There's a lot of people that are tired of us talking about this trade. And I just want you to know that if you're a person who's a fan of the trade, every single NBA person of substance that's willing to go on the record, which has been a shit ton of people throughout NBA history, think this trade sucks. The kind of people who think this trade was good for the Mavericks are your real hooper losers who go on like various live shows and never won a damn thing in the NBA. That's the kind of person. And it's like, look, I get it. You know, you have these people that they live on our Mavs Moneyball message boards and they say nasty things. They didn't like Luka. I get it if you don't like Luka, but denying his greatness means you're an idiot. I just, there's nowhere else to go with this. No. I wrote what I felt was an interesting piece where I'm trying to relate my fandom and how I feel about this with something like kind of the immediate, my son's sort of like immediate reaction, and he's 9, he's moved on, but he was upset, and how I was very upset that the Mavericks took this thing from me. They took this memory from me and this thing. And so of course you get two kinds of people that are like very like, okay, I can relate to this. And then people who are like, oh, so you're mad? You're mad that your son was upset. That's why you're still mad. I bet you're the kind of parent to bully sports coaches and teachers. And it's like, first of all, shut the fuck up. Second of all, no, it's a total easily misreading of the piece. Cause again, children move on, they grow up, adults stay hurt because adults know what this sort of thing means. And the simple fact of this trade and why we keep coming back to it is that in all statistical likelihood, the Dallas Mavericks will never again have a player quite as good as Luka Doncic on their roster while we are alive.
Yeah.
I
know. Well, and the funny thing is, like, you're talking about who the wide range of people kind of agreeing on a crappy trade is that, like, even people that are like, yeah, I would have traded Luka. Like I would have
gotten something back for him.
Yeah, like even like some Luka haters are like, yeah, I would have traded Luka, but like, good lord,
where he went wrong was the entire second part of the deal. And yeah, it's like okay, like
no, so you can't find any then. Right. No, I'm just saying, like that's how universally panned this trade is even the people that don't like Luka and don't think he could be a franchise championship winning player are like, oh, well, he could have gotten a little bit more than that. Like, just, yeah, so that's where we all come together is I think almost everyone agrees you probably could have gotten a bit of a return.
I love it. Anyway, yeah. It ultimately, like, I know you guys are tired of me talking about it, but I just get so fired up because I feel like so many people are willfully obtuse about how and why we all do this, how and why, like, we all have like different, like, I really envy people that are able to watch the game, turn it off, and not think about it until the next game.
That's most people.
It really is. But if you're engaging with our content, you're not one of those people.
That's true.
So there's just something goofy afoot. Whatever. It doesn't really matter because he's gone now. We're in Cooper Flag. But the Nico part of this just hangs out. Like Michael Jordan is going to go to NBC Sports next year and talk about the games. This is what I don't know if did I share this with the chat. Did you know this? Michael Jordan's going to be doing
Yeah. I know that news. That news came out. Yeah, he's gonna be. He's not going to be a regular, but he'll be doing occasional,
Stephen A. Smith says that Jordan has thoughts and he talks to Jordan regularly. One of those thoughts, if Luka is playing well, is an excoriation of the Dallas Mavericks. I hope everyone understands this.
Yeah, Luka is a Jordan.
Jordan. Michael Jordan fucking loves Luka. He sought him out at the 75th anniversary game. He looked sort of drunk and was like so excited to talk to Luka.
I mean, that's why Luka signed with Jordan, because Jordan was like, "Hey, be Jordan brand." Like, when Michael Jordan pitches you to join his sneaker line, that's a hard thing to turn down. So.
All right, time to talk about players that are on the team. Sorry for the Luka distraction. Don Nelson just makes me laugh because he's a riot of a. If you don't know enough about Don Nelson, just go down a Wikipedia rabbit hole. He's an incredible coach and incredible just personality.
One of the most influential figures in NBA history, really.
That's right. All right, so we only got 4 players left, and actually, it's a pretty good crop of players. The Mavericks played a lot of guys this year just due to trades and stuff. It's pretty, and we got lucky because I literally were just picking people that were on my brain when I sorted this out. Max Christie came over as a part of the Luka Doncic trade. 6'6", 190-pound shooting guard. He is in this was his 3rd year. Is that right? Yeah, 3rd year. He's played 186 games, and he got off to a rip-roaring start with the Dallas Mavericks. Quite the start. He's going to be a guy that's like a trivia answer for the team in several years. He ended up playing, 30. Let's see here with the Mavericks. He ended up playing 32 games after the trade. He played 30 minutes, a pretty significant percentage spike. He scored about 11 points a game, but that was really bolstered by kind of an early run where he was scoring consistently early and often. 4 rebounds with the Mavericks, shot the 3 ball pretty well on decent enough volume. But at the same time, I just don't know what to make of this guy other than the fact that he's a reasonably priced building block. What do you think, Josh?
Yeah, I mean, his contract's awesome because he was a 2nd-round pick, and he kind of locked in a multi-year deal with LA. All of our Lakers friends love him. None of them were like, I wouldn't do the, Lakers people being Lakers people, what could we have gotten Luka without trading Max Christie? And you're like, shut up. I don't want to hear it.
Sorry, guys, got to trade somebody.
You got to trade somebody. But they did really like him. He was like one of their guys. He was like, the Lakers equivalent of us, their post-game shows would usually revolve around at least one segment of why didn't Max Christie play more? He was that guy to a lot of Lakers people. And yeah, he was great with the Mavericks. He scored 14 or more points in his first 8 games or something like that. I'm looking at his game log. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So yeah, his first 7 games, he was at 15 points or more. Mm-hmm. Which Mavericks TV voice Mark Followill I know has the stat that was for of debuting Maverick. That's the most consecutive game. I don't know if it's the most, but he's up there in terms of starting your Mavericks career with that many consecutive.
It was a lot. It was really funny.
Yeah, and he was making all. The thing though was it was super not sustainable because it was all jumpers. It was making threes. He was making pull-up twos. He was making middies at an unsustainable rate, but it was still cool.
Yep.
And it wasn't out of the norm. That's part of his game. He's a good jump shooter. He was a good jump shooter with LA before the trade. That's a developing part of his game. I think because of the way his youth and the fact and his size, everyone assumes that he's a really gritty, defensive kind of minded 3-and-D prospect, but he's more of an offensive focused player, I think. This isn't an original thought. Our former staffer Matthew Phillips would talk about it too. His defense was okay, but he had a lot of defensive miscues, and of course it's hard to totally evaluate it because he didn't have a center. Anthony Davis is out, Lively's out, Gafford's out, but he got beat in a lot of variety of situations and off-ball situations. And honestly, like I was more impressed with his offense and his defense in the short time we got to watch him. And I'm not sure he's like that one-on-one lockdown guy. His foot speed and lateral quickness and on defense was left a little bit to be desired. But his offense, he cooled off like you predictably he was going to cool off. But like there was some pop to his offense that I didn't realize. In terms of being able to attack closeouts and score in the mid-range, which is super huge for role player. Like that is the skill for role players going forward. Like for what the most of the 2010s, it was 3-and-D. Can you play defense and can you spot up shoot? Now instead of like 3-and-D, I almost feel like it needs to be like D&D. Can you drive and play defense? Like can you attack closeouts and do something with it so that you're a threat? Because defenses are too good. Like they can run guys off the line. And if you run a spot up shooter off the line, you have to be able to have something else in your bag to counter that. Because if not, like you saw in the Mavericks and when they lost to the Warriors in 2022, and honestly when they lost to the Celtics in 2024, like when your role players are mostly guys that have to be spoon-fed open spot up jumpers, defenses, when you play the best of the best defenses, they can take that away. And so when they take that away, what's your counter? And if you've got a bunch of role players that don't know what to do when they have to dribble the ball, that's a problem. It doesn't matter how good your one or two option is. Like it's a 5-man, 5 players on the floor at all times. They all kind of need to matter to varying degrees. So that's honestly like a really good sign for Max Christie because it feels like he knows what to do when a team is trying to run him off the 3-point line. He has a good 2-point game from mid-range. He feels comfortable pulling up. So that's like really promising.
Though.
It did leave him.
Like it left him in a way to where I could be wrong about this, but I feel like his minutes totals the last 10
he
games,
blew through any previous high of minutes. I mean,
I'm just wrong.
No, I mean he played the most minutes. Like what were his minutes last season compared to this season?
I'm remembering he had a rough stretch from the end of March and early April where he was playing less minutes and just couldn't buy a bucket. But then he closed the season pretty well.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me. Now I want to. He played a lot of minutes. He played way more minutes.
A lot of minutes.
Yeah, he played. I'm looking at the totals. Oh my gosh, where are they? Yeah, he played. He played 512 minutes his rookie season. He played 944 last season. He played 2,100 minutes this season. Yeah. He played over 1,100.
That's a
lot.
That's like 120% increase.
Yes. He looked like he ran out of gas toward the end of the season.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good take. I need to remember that because I was honestly coming in here being like, this guy has work to do. But I think you're right. It's a different kind of work. It's mostly adjusting to the workload.
Yeah, and it still looked good. So, and he's a 3rd-year, 2nd-round pick. So really, anything like again, right. You're right. He's a bonus, right? Like you just don't expect anything from these picks. And he's on such a good cost control contract. I think this should temper the expectations because I think after those first 7 games, everyone was like, "This is our new starter,
superstar,
third best."
He was like a superstar. He did. So you just gotta realize where he's coming from, and even though he slumps, you just take the aggregate, and you're like, that was a success. Well, all right. Next guy we're going to talk about it's great. It's so funny. Josh and I are like planning the rundowns, and there's just sometimes in the middle of our workday when we talk about this, and it's just like I don't want to do this, and then we end up doing it. The next one is a sad one because Dante Exum was signed to the Dallas Mavericks 2 years ago with sort of a 1-and-1 deal. He was coming back from playing overseas and he had torn his ACL. When did he tear his ACL? He didn't play. He tore it, I think, in Cleveland. Maybe it was either Cleveland. He basically played a few games with the Cavs in 2021. I think he played 6 total games. But then he didn't play. He essentially wasn't in the NBA from the tail end of 2020 until he returned to the Dallas Mavericks in 2023. Almost 3 full seasons. And with the Mavericks, he slowly worked his way onto the court in 2023-24 to where there was a game against the Lakers where he hit 8 threes. And this was a guy who could not shoot threes early in his career. We're talking, he did not shoot volume is what I'll say. Then he came back with the Mavericks and played some spot minutes as part of like kind of third ball handler in specific roles. He was not very effective in the playoff run, but really gave the Mavericks a lot during the regular season. And I think we were all pretty hopeful that he would come back to the Mavericks in 24-25 and give them something. And unfortunately, he broke his hand during training camp, which was, is that right? It was his hand.
It was a
right?
wrist surgery.
Came and then essentially was gone a full month longer than the Mavericks initially said, which means just rehab took a while. And then hurt himself again after 20 games. We were sure it was season ending. The Mavericks, I think, might have even said it was season ending. But somehow, very much like in the Palpatine return mold, all of a sudden, he's just in the roster for like the last 2 games of the regular season. I think that's right, at least.
Yes, he came back for the last 2 games.
Because they just needed ball handlers. There's no one
he had
left.
to play. He had to play.
Like, I think if the Mavericks were out of the playoff hunt, he wouldn't have played, but they needed him. And I don't have anything else to add to them other than the fact that I thought he worked really well with Luka Doncic. I think he's a steady hand. I think he's a good point guard. Unfortunately, I just don't know. Like, if the Mavericks were to bring him back, I have no idea what his role would be because they would probably need him to do a lot. And I just don't know if he can.
Yeah. He can't stay healthy. I mean, last season, no one could stay healthy, but like the fact that he got injured in preseason, not preseason, but off season, I guess.
It was like the second day of training camp.
Yeah, he's out for forever. He doesn't come back till January 31st. That's his first game back, and then he gets hurt in early March, and he's gone, or mid March, and he's gone till mid April. Like, I mean, he just never. It just never felt like his season. And when he did play, like he looked like himself from last season for the most part. He had some iffy shooting games here and there, but like he came back. I mean, he played almost all of February, and he was 50 from the floor, 43 from 3, about 11 points a game. Like that's exactly what he was doing when he hit his stride his first season with the Mavericks. So it feels like it's still there. I mean, good Lord, if they bring him back, he would be slotted in as the starting guard for this team, right? Like, if they don't make any other significant changes, like if they don't make, I mean, which I still think they will, but like he would be the best point guard on the roster if he was as it stands right now. So they could use him, but also if he's not going to be durable, and they've got a lot dude, they got Anthony Davis and Lively is now looking like kind of like an injury prone guy. Like, can you have that? You at a certain point, everyone says, injuries are unlucky and all this stuff. But if you keep bringing back injury prone players, you can't say that you had bad luck when the injury prone players get hurt. Like, so like, I just wonder if they feel like they just can't, knowing that Kyrie's going to be gone till minimum January of next year. Can they really sign this guy again, knowing he might not be available because he might get hurt again?
Do you remember when he got hurt in March?
Yeah, it was against Houston when they lost by 1 billion points.
I know you don't listen to the broadcast sometimes, but the broadcast was praising, and it was just unfortunate. There's no.
Oh, they were praising the front. They were
praising the training staff for how good a job and how difficult a job they do as Dante Exum got hurt. It was so painful. David and I were watching it on the live stream, having to not make jokes because it's nobody's fault. Shit happens.
He broke his hand. That's especially not.
It was what it was.
That's not a training staff injury.
Okay, 2 guys left, and frankly, 2 of the more fun, weird players in the Mavericks for the 2024-25 season. We have Klay freaking Thompson, who I just have to say, the Mavericks signed him in the offseason. He clearly wanted to get out of Golden State. He signed to play with a contender, signed to play with Luka. 34 going on 35 at the time. Everybody's worried about his durability and his minutes and this, that, and the other. And Klay Thompson came out and gave Dallas Mavericks 72 games. And I actually think, I'll be wrong about this, but I think he might have been like the second highest games guy in the year behind only Spencer Dinwiddie. Yes, that's right. He was Thompson, guy with an ACL tear, guy with an Achilles tear, played the second most number of games on the team.
And second most amount of minutes.
really something. That's actually wild shit when you say it out loud.
I know.
I like Klay was exactly what I had hoped for.
Yes. Yeah, he did. Yeah, as advertised, right? Like, still can hit his threes, 39% on almost 8 a game, which was like why it was very confused. Like, people were so down on the move coming to Dallas, but it's like you've got Luka, who's the greatest 3-point shot creator in the league, with a guy who can still absolutely hit threes. Like,
Right.
this makes sense. And defensively, good, had some good nights, had some bad nights. He's streaky as all get out, especially on threes, but he couldn't hit twos to save his life. I mean, I think he shot, what did he shoot on twos? He shot 44.8% on twos, which is the lowest he's shot on twos since the second season of his career. Because he normally has a pretty good midi game, like pull up, chase him off the 3-point line, and he would pull up and right around the elbow, 15 to 18 feet. That wasn't there for him this year. He had a lot of games where he acted like I'm looking at one game right now on a loss against Phoenix where he was 5 of 14 from 3, which is 37.5%, which is not great but not terrible. But he was 8 of 20 overall, so he only made 3 more shots. Like, he had a lot of games like that where he would make a lot of threes and then he would make like 1 or 2 buckets after that. Like this, I'm looking at another game, New Orleans. He was 4 of 7 from 3. That's great. He was 4 of 11 overall. 5 of 14 from 3 in another game. 6 of 19 overall. Like, he did not hit a lot of twos.
He loved taking them. That's also what was funny is he like went through stretches where he would try to do things that he just can't do anymore.
Yeah.
I would also be curious, and there's just no way to do this, but his shooting percentage after pump fakes versus not pump faking. Like, the man pump faked for no reason for like 40 straight games. Like, I don't know.
And he would do the thing where he would pump fake and not do the dribble reset. He would pump fake and with his feet set still and then shoot again.
Like, he made the shot harder.
Yeah, I feel like he shot negative 1,000,000% on those shot attempts when he would pump fake and not use the dribble reset. But otherwise, yeah, exactly what they needed. They needed a floor spacer. You saw in the finals that they couldn't hit any shots. And when it was, when Luka and Klay and Kyrie, like, that little stretch right before Luka got hurt on Christmas, they were freaking blowing teams off the floor. He was part of that 5-man group, Kyrie, Luka, Klay, PJ, Lively, that didn't get to see a lot of time, but was absolutely running teams off the floor. His gravity was probably the most important thing that he brought to the team, even after the Luka trade. And he'll still be important if they decide to keep him, because like who else is garnering interest beyond the 3-point line besides Klay, especially with Kyrie hurt? Like,
he's got a bit of an interesting contract. He's this year's fully guaranteed, next year's like a partial team option, I think. And I think that was intentional. I do hope the Mavericks, whatever happens with him, they do right by him, because he has been nothing but a good soldier in a difficult situation.
Yep.
So
he hasn't said anything
not
publicly
a single
about
thing.
it, but there's no way if you asked him again, because again,
he wouldn't sign here.
Yeah, it came down between Dallas and the Lakers. He does not sign here if he knows Luka is getting traded.
Nope.
Like, there's just no way. So.
Nope. So then, last but not least, probably I don't know, the single most surprising and fun surprise that I've had covering the Dallas Mavericks with you, really, since we started doing podcasts regularly, I think. Naji Marshall.
My guy.
Nicknamed the Knife. The Mavericks signed him to a 3-year deal worth about $27 million in place of Derek Jones Jr., another one of like the really fun surprises from last year's team. And Naji Marshall came in and was put into the knife is accurate because it's a Swiss Army knife, really, because the man was put into 90 different positions and excelled in just about every area this year except for one. And we'll probably talk about that one, but I can't tell you how much fun I had watching Naji Marshall play basketball.
Yeah, this one's good. This one's a little selfish for me because I very much stuck my flag into the Naji Marshall island. Like when that acquisition happened, because you saw there were some Mavs fans that were really disappointed that they let Derek Jones Jr.
Yeah.
go. And I was trying to tell people he's a better player than Derek Jones Jr. He might not be as good at some of the things Derek Jones Jr. is good at, athleticism, on-ball defense, that kind of stuff. But he's a better overall basketball player. And I think that undoubtedly shown through this season. Career highs across the board in scoring and shooting, overall shooting. He shot 61% on 2-pointers, and he took over 7 of them a game. He was
Huge.
One of the NBA's best in the paint outside the restricted area range of the floor, like literally one of the league's best at the volume he was attempting. There were nights where he just simply could not miss in the paint, and he got to the paint at will. And that's exactly what they needed, because you saw in the finals, again, whether it was PJ, whether it was Derek Jones Jr. himself, guys getting run off the 3-point line and not knowing what they could do. Naji he would love to get run off the 3-point line because, take a look at his 3-point shooting numbers and you could see why. He was very comfortable attacking off the dribble, attacking off closeouts. He's a great passer, could run pick and roll. It's very frustrating that we could not see the vision of this Mavericks roster pre-Luka trade kind of get its fair shake, because I really think that it's really hard when you make the finals to then be like, okay, what do we do? Because usually if you make the finals, you're a good team. You're really, really good.
Yes.
How do you improve upon that? Because if you're really, really good, presumably you're not like Oklahoma City and you have 8 million first-round picks and all your players are young and cheap. Like, you're probably capped out. You've used resources to become that team to get to the finals. So the methods to improve are difficult, and the Mavericks did it like they did it. Like they were a better team. Like I will believe that till my grave, that the 2024-2025 Mavericks pre-Luka trade were a better team than that 2024 Finals team. And a lot of that was swapping Derek Jones Jr. out for Naji Marshall, who was just everything they needed offensively without a big enough defensive drop-off that you felt it hard.
Well, the one area where he suffered, and I think this is at least worth talking about, is like in 2023-24 season with the New Orleans Pelicans, he shot 39% from 3 on just over 2 threes a game. Like, pretty, like, easily his career high. He fell on 3.2 threes a game to 27.5% with the Mavericks. Now, I bring that up to say, what if the threes he's taking are the threes Derek Jones Jr. was getting with the Dallas Mavericks? The quality of 3. Does that change his percentage? I have to say yes. I just have to believe that if he's getting better open threes from Luka. Let's say he splits the difference and instead shoots like 33 to 34%, which is not great, but out of the volume, a couple more made through.
Hey, if you're shooting 61% on 2s, you'll take.
Yes, you'll deal with it. You deal with it because it's like the drive and kick,
yes.
Getting the ball out of Doncic's hands to multiple ball handlers was the whole vision.
Yes,
and it's just, again, it's disappointing. But he's with the Mavericks this year. He's probably one of their quiet, like, really sneaky, important, good pieces. I wonder if other teams would value him the way we do. One of the challenges that the Mavericks ran into towards their playing is like they relied on Marshall really to be their point guard in a number of circumstances.
Yeah, and he's a good passer, but you don't want him to be your point guard.
No, that's where I was getting at. Where he's like secondary ball handler.
Yes,
like third area. I don't know, whatever they're
tertiary.
Tertiary. There we go. I'm a dummy. Tertiary ball handler is probably his ideal role because it just makes him an attacker. Where his decision makings are really easy, kind of like Jason Tatum's in the finals there 2 years ago, where it's like you pass to the open person. I don't know. I'm glad he's on the team. He's a very outspoken guy. He gives good quotes. He gets very annoyed with Mavs fans, which that makes him relatable to us. But I just it's nice to end on a bright spot for a team that really just had a tough 2024-25.
Yeah, he was definitely. He was easily the best on-court story for this Mavericks season this year.
Well, I think that's about all we got. Maybe we'll have some resolution to this coaching chicanery in a couple of days. If you want to come yell at me on a podcast on Friday, I think we should do that. We've had a fair number. Like, I got to tell you, Josh and I are pleasantly surprised with the number of things that we have at the Mavs Moneyball website. Our man Brent, or Sage Man Brent, wrote a piece for his birthday tomorrow. I won't tell you how old he is because it doesn't look his age, which is like very funny to me. Like you could tell me he was 35, or you could tell me he was 55, and I really wouldn't be able to tell. But some of the things he wrote about, like he wrote about an episode of Star Trek over the weekend related to Back to the Mavericks, and it's like that just goes over everybody's head because nobody's old enough for it. But I published it anyways because it's good stuff. It's good writing. We've got some stuff from our guy Michael. Josh and I will maybe write something one day. I don't really know. I'm just kind of not like until we see some basketball. I don't know. I'm not out on the Mavericks by any stretch. There's not a lot interesting to say, and I don't like.
Well, we know the rosters the roster will not look like this. So to make any definitive declarative statements about how this season will go sounds so silly because I do not believe that the Gafford, AD, Lively, PJ quartet, one of those guys will not be on the team. One of them will not be on the team.
Which somebody told Stein, and Stein covered this morning, and or then the last new update he did, where he's like, the Mavericks would like to find a way to keep both, and it's like, and I'd like a pony. Like what?
I'd love to eat Taco Bell every day and not gain 500 pounds.
Oh man, Taco Bell! Not had Taco Bell in a while.
Yeah, that's right. Go get some Taco Bell.
No. I had this nut. Anyway, I don't want to. I had a crock pot meal tonight that was like surprisingly good, but it had to have been terrible for me. There was heavy. Cream.
I love the crock pot.
There was heavy cream involved in and I'm just like, well, this is anyway. I don't really got much. It's very funny. Just to kind of close out, I'm going to my kid has 3 basketball practices a week. Like the coach that he plays for, shout out Coach Colston, is an older gentleman who just reminds me of days gone by kind of coach, but he's a really good explainer. And one of the funny things about watching kids play basketball, particularly if they're like really trying to teach them stuff, is the sheer number of things that you know how to do instinctually by now that you don't really remember learning. Like doing defensive slide work where it's like, he's having a ball handler dribble up the floor doing zigzags, not trying to get past the ball handler or not trying to get past the defender, but like teaching the defender, these are the motions of staying in front of your guy. Right.
Right.
It's so funny watching them do this as little kids because they want to do it, but it's like their brains discombobulate. He had them doing like an agility ladder, like one of the ones you lay out, and it's like, your feet go in and out, and this is how we do this. And none of them could do it. It was one of the funniest things I've seen in sports and with kids stuff. And that's just kind of my days these days, is watching kids basketball, hanging out. I am looking forward to summer league stuff, but not the fact that it's not coming for a month, I'm not dying for it. So
yeah, I understand.
Anyway, anything you could recommend for us as of late?
No. The new Mission Impossible is awesome. We saw that.
I still haven't caught it. It's making me mad.
Oh, you need to.
I know.
Yeah, I know. It's hard.
They're trying to catch up, and like each one is so long. We watch them in like chunks, and
they get longer too. By the way, the further you go, the longer they get. But that was really good. I'm not watching. I'm catching up on Last of Us season 2. Me and you could do probably a podcast.
I think we'll have to
about our conversation. Yeah, I'm a little, as someone who is an avid fan of the games. I am a little pissed off through 4 episodes.
Yeah.
Of season 2. Some of the changes they've made. I'm not someone that like everything has to be the same. I'm totally open for new interpretations, but I feel like what they're changing isn't paying off in a way that feels true to the story that I really liked. But we'll see. I gotta close it out and see what happens.
We're gonna have to like surprise your wife one day and pull her on the podcast, and I'm gonna have to be like, here's my case for Andor to your wife.
It's not happening, man.
Ah!
Thank J.J. Abrams and Rise of the Skywalker. And thank that. thank Mandalorian season 3.
Do I need to show it? Do I like? There's this graphic where it's like episodes. I want to say 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 all have 9.5 or higher on IMDb. Like they're just.
I know.
Oh well, life goes on. Josh and I'll be back next week. I'm sure something else ridiculous will happen between now and then. Join me on Friday if you got some thoughts. Head over to Mavs Moneyball if you have anything. And reach out if you have any basketball thoughts. Everybody be good. We will talk to you guys soon, and go Mavs.